We are live.
This meeting, Committee of the Whole Operations, is now called to order. I would ask that you rise as you are able for the reading of the invocation. As we come together today, we recognize the great responsibilities laid upon us. Our council will always strive to understand the needs of the people we serve and to use power wisely and well. Our purpose is to establish and maintain a city of prosperity and righteousness where freedom prevails and where justice rules. Let us also not forget those who served our community and who are no longer with us, so that we can continue to do the work we must in their memory. May be seated. Has the roll been taken?
The roll's been taken.
Members of the committee, is there anybody declaring a conflict of interest? Seeing none. At this time, I would ask the members of the committee what other items that you would like separated for discussion purposes. Seeing none. Councillor Martyr, can you please move the motion and state your seconder?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move, seconded by my ward mate, Councillor McCurry, that all items not separated for discussion be voted on.
Can you call the vote?
Just prior to the vote, for clarification, all items subject to the vote are as follows. 6.1.1 Museum Funding Agreement with Brant Historical Society. 6.1.2 Healthy Kids 2022 Annual Report. 6.1.3 Brantford Immigration Partnership Annual Updating 2023 Action Plan. 6.1.4 Clean Brantford Update. 6.1.5 Brantford Airport Board Report. 6.2.1 City of Brantford Drinking Water Quality Management System 2022 Annual Update, and 6.2.2 the minutes. And all items for consideration and consent not separated, which were all of the items, have carried unanimously on a recorded vote. Those voting in favor: Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Sluss, Councillor McCurry, Councillor Carpenter, Councillor Samuel, Councillor Sicoli, Councillor Caputo, Councillor Martin, Councillor Hunt, and Councillor Van Tilburg.
Thank you. There's no presentations or delegations. Items for consideration or consent. The committee will now consider and the items. Oh, we've been separated. Yeah, that's right. Never mind. Resolutions. Councillor Samuel, please move your resolution and state your seconder.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brian Van Tilburg. Asset-based community development, ABCD model. Whereas asset-based community development, ABCD, builds on the assets that are found in community and mobilizes individuals, associations, and institutions to come together to realize and develop their strengths. And whereas the City of Brantford has demonstrated a commitment to community-based programming and asset-based community development, whereas the City of Brantford Neighborhood Associations policy and the network of active neighborhood associations is the strongest example of ABCD, in which residents are actively engaged in fostering safe, caring, strong, and resilient neighborhoods, whereas in the City of Brantford affiliation policy is another excellent example of the city's commitment to supporting local grassroots organizations and community groups seeking support and resources to help build community capacity and improve quality of life for Brantford residents. And whereas through the neighborhood association policy and the affiliation policy, access to free space is made possible for community gathering, resident advocacy, and resident-led action. Whereas there are numerous other citizens groups and organizations leading important community development initiatives in the City of Brantford. Whereas the Neighborhood Alliance of Brantford annual neighborhood project grants are awarded to neighborhood associations, citizen-led projects that build community from the ground up. And whereas the City of Brantford is a proud partner of the ABCD Symposium taking place May 31st, 2023 at the Mohawk Park Pavilion. This year's theme is belonging. Now, therefore, it be resolved that staff from all departments be encouraged to learn about ABCD and participate in this free full-day ABCD Symposium, that staff be directed to develop an internal process to utilize principles from ABCD in development of programs, services, and public engagement, and include examples and outcomes within the Council Priorities Update Report under strategic theme 6, effectively and consistently engage with the community, and that staff be directed to explore training opportunities to develop a better understanding of ABCD principles, and that staff be directed, and include any resource requirements within respective departmental training budgets, and that staff be directed to investigate adding a new section to the staff report template to summarize community and neighborhood impact and report back with options, and that staff be directed to update the city's current community involvement framework to include principles of ABCD and to coordinate a presentation about ABCD to the public consultation task force for consideration of members. I'll just speak to this for a second. So really, we're already doing so much great work with the citizens in our community, and the resolution before us tonight would just deepen the work that we're already doing using asset-based community development. Asset-based community development is about building connected communities. There are places where residents nurture neighborhood relationships and then help them work together to create a good life. Our role in this is to come alongside residents to do that work. This resolution has all of the pieces to ensure that we are equipped as a city to work together with citizens to build an even stronger Brantford. Thank you.
Anybody care to have any discussion on this? Councillor Carpenter?
Sure. So what is asset-based discussions? It's citizen-led, relationship-oriented with the community, asset-based and inclusion-focused. I don't see anything negative here whatsoever in this resolution for anybody to ever vote against something that is asking staff to look at ways to involve more of our citizens and our volunteer groups, such as neighborhood associations and all those, whether it be baseball associations, hockey associations, every one of them, to be included in a way to say how are we growing the city of Brantford, how are we doing with those relationships. I want to thank Councillor Samuel for bringing this forward. It takes a lot of courage to bring this forward, and it's a great idea to start cataloging what those assets that we have. They're human being assets we're talking about, not the physical assets, the roads and sewers and water pipes. It's physical, it's people. It's the human capital that we're talking about as asset based. So I will support this wholeheartedly. Thank you, Councillor Samuel, for bringing it forward.
Councillor Van Tilburg.
Well, I really got to hand it to my ward mate. I think this is one of the things that happens when somebody comes up through the neighborhood association venue and ends up becoming a councillor. I remember when the neighborhood hubs were considered something really a hard step for the city to get onto, and we did the pilot programs and then it grew. And I mean, now you look at it, the idea of using school resources in conjunction with neighborhoods, I mean, that's just seen natural and normal now. And when I see all these different community groups out there, I mean, there's going to be a ton of them at Mohawk Park at the end of this month. And they're all joining together to say, hey, here's how we can make our place, our neighborhoods, what we do better. You think about the single individual initiatives that we do, between Belonging Brant and all these great things to make, when children sometimes don't feel included in events and things like that, and they put on a special birthday party. All those things are how we engage with one another. And I am just so, like, the wording on this looks really deep and detailed, but honestly, we see it happening. It has been the way we're going. I know without these movements forward, where our ward would be in the midst of some of the stuff that's going on right now, we would be drowning. Instead, we're not. We're staying ahead, and that's what makes the community strong. And that's where I want to again commend my ward mate, understanding strong community roots, and the fact that the more our staff interact and see all the different groups. I mean, they're doing this now and that, but to learn the little bits of differences, and if they need training to go on a special program for training, hey, I'm all for that. Why not? But I've got to tell you, this is the way we're going forward. It's a big thing. And yeah, I just like, hey, everyone's got a neighborhood association in their ward. I think we all know the good that comes out of them. This is just that an extension of that.
Councillor Hunt.
Yes. Fully supportive of this. I've been involved with the Asset-Based Community Development Symposium since we hosted the first one, which is now 5 years ago. But overall, asset-based community development is the gold standard for community development. It is understanding that organizations and people within our communities all have different gifts and assets to bring to the table. It avoids duplication. It is just the smartest way to do community development out there. So again, thank you, Councillor Samwell. Also been involved in the neighborhood associations and the Neighborhood Association of Brantford for almost 20 years. So that's just NAB itself is an example of bringing neighborhood associations together and really building on the assets that we all have. So as I said, very, very glad to support this resolution tonight.
Seeing no others, call the vote. Councillor Samwell.
So I just wanted to add to my earlier comments that some of the other municipalities that are already using asset-based community development in their work are Kitchener, Burlington, Hamilton, obviously further away, such as Seattle and Edmonton, and other places across the country. But it really is just a way at looking at how we can support the citizens in our community. And I hope that everyone would consider supporting this tonight. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Now call the vote.
Item 7.1 is lost on a tie vote. Those voting in favor, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Carpenter, Councillor Samwell, Councillor Hunt, and Councillor Van Tilburg. Those opposed, Councillor Sless, Councillor McCreary, Councillor Sicoli, Councillor Caputo, and Councillor Martin.
We have one notice of motion on our agenda. Councillor Samwell, please read the title of your notice of motion.
Central Park Community Garden Water Service.
Councillor Sicoli, it's my understanding that you also have a notice of motion that you would like to present as a resolution this evening. Presenting this item as a resolution will require a 2/3 vote. Please state your seconder and read the motion to waive the rules.
Yes, I have a motion to waive the rules to introduce the request for a Crew Fest to be declared a municipally significant event. This will be moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Caputo, since my ward mate is sitting in chair, even though I've been working with him on this for quite some time with the organizers of Crew Fest. That section 15.11.5 of chapter 15 of the City of Brantford Municipal Code be waived in order to introduce the following resolution without prior notice of motion. Whereas the 6th annual Crew Fest Music Festival, formerly What the Fest, has been taking place in the City of Brantford on Friday, July 28th and Saturday, July 29th, 2023 at Lions Park Steve Brown Sports Complex in Brantford. And whereas the festival started in 2015 as a rock festival intended to bring in affordable music festival to the City of Brantford, And whereas the festival has been working cooperatively with the SEAT committee to provide an exceptional, high-quality music festival at affordable ticket costs. And whereas international recording artists Live, Our Lady Peace, Headstones, and Biff Naked have already announced for this year's festival. And whereas CrewFest is a long-standing event in the city of Brantford that attracts thousands of visitors to and from all over Ontario, as well as other parts of Canada and the United States, making it a strong tourism driver and with significant economic impact for our community. And whereas the event organizer has applied for a special occasions permit public through the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, the AGCO. And whereas a request was received by the City of Brantford to support an application for the purposes of obtaining a special occasions permit public for the event. And whereas a special occasions permit public requires the event to be deemed municipally significant. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Brantford declare the 6th annual CrewFest as municipally significant event in order for the organizer to obtain a liquor license through the AGCO. And the reason that this is coming in at the very last minute is simply because I think there was a miscommunication between our staff and the organizers. Last year, the organizers just were able to receive a letter from us. And this year it needs to come through committee to get this letter sent over to them. So in order for the organizers to meet the timeline with the AGCO, it needs to be brought forward without prior notice. And I'm hoping, and I'm sure all of the people who are looking forward to seeing Our Lady Peace and Biff Naked are hoping that we will move this forward this evening. Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion to waive the rules? Councilor Carpenter?
Is the reason to raise the rules, waive the rules is because of the timing to get the alcohol permit? Okay, I see that. Okay, thank you.
Seeing none other, call the vote.
The motion to waive the rules was carried unanimously on a recorded vote. Those voting in favor, Councillor Sokoli, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Caputo, Councillor Sluss, Councillor Martin, Councillor McCurry, Councillor Hunt, Councillor Carpenter, Councillor Van Tilburg, and Councillor Samwell.
Thank you. Councillor Sokoli, can you please move your item and state your seconder? You do not have to read it all over again.
I thank you for not making me read that all over again, although it's beautifully written. So moved by myself and it's seconded by Councillor Caputo.
Any discussion? Councilor Carpenter?
Yeah, I'm happy to support this. This group does a pretty good job. I think when we debate issues, unlike the last issue, if we're going to vote against something, we should say why, but I'm voting in favor of this because it's a good event.
Councilor Van Tilburg?
I think you should say why too when you vote against something like that. Anyways, look, I've supported this event since the get-go. I'm sorry, I still can't keep laughing about that. So this is a good thing. We're going to have that event, private run event on public land, kind of a nice thing. You're going to have your booze. This is very important, and I'm sure that this will pass unanimously.
Seeing no one else, I'll give my 2 cents. I too will be fully supporting this. I think this is a detrimental event. If we do not approve this, we're going to be setting up a colossal failure and we'll essentially kill CrewFest. So I think with the exception of the timelines, and we'll give the direction to the actual vendor to actually come forward sooner next year. Councillor Scully.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm very excited for this event. And being born in the 80s, I was raised musically in the 90s. So having Our Lady Peace and Biff Naked, I am extremely excited. And I think it's a huge tourism driver to the community, and huge shout out to the organizers of this event, because I think it's going to be wildly successful this year. And I look forward to attending. Thank you everyone for your support in advance.
Councilor Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also will be supporting this, and to keep up with Councillor Carpenter, I'll give my reasons as to why. Sorry, man, I just. So I'm a big component of this type of activities happening within our city. I think too many people in the city of Brantford leave to go to concerts elsewhere, events elsewhere. We don't do anything, I believe, as a city right now that keeps people local. And I think bringing this as an annual event and doing what we're doing here today is really going to do a lot good for the city. I mean, it certainly falls 4 weeks after the Canada Day festivities. And hopefully we'll have something coming in the future as well that could be do things in August. So I'm full support of this.
Seeing no others, we'll call the vote.
Item 8.2 carries unanimously on a recorded vote. Those voting in favor, Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Sluss, Councillor McCurry, Councillor Carpenter, Councillor Samuel, Councillor Sakoli, Councillor Caputo, Councillor Martin, Councillor Hunt, and Councillor Van Tilburg.
And with that, we are adjourned.